This is great. I'm so great. I'm so grateful that you're both here and so happy to see you both. So as we all know, Paul is the founding hog farmer of Niman Ranch and has done such an incredible job of bringing us all here together. Without Paul, this network of family farmers and eaters would not exist. And my love for Paul is no secret, and my admiration for him is no secret. I first met him 20 years ago at a conference. I was a very green writer at an environmental organization, and I'd heard about Paul, and so I started following him around to conferences. And the first time I heard him give a presentation, it was really clear to me that Paul loves pigs. There's no doubt, right? But what was also clear to me is that he loves the land and he loves bringing family farmers together. And he wants to create an agricultural landscape that supports animals and people and creates a thriving atmosphere for future generations. So again, so grateful to Paul and all the work that he's been doing. It's my honor to have been writing about him for 2 decades now. So please give Paul his own special round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we're also joined by somebody I really, really admire for all the great work he's been doing, and that's Ed Behr, the editor of Art of Eating is this incredible publication and website that really tells the story of food. So thank you for all of that work, Ed. It's incredible.
Thank you.
So Paul, I do want to start with you and hear from you about the inspiration behind Niman Ranch and why, you know, in the late 90s, it was so critical to have a company like Niman Ranch start.
Well, in the beginning, I started looking for a market because factory farming was moving in on us, and I was a hog farmer raising pasture-raised pigs, and we were kind of being squeezed out. And I thought, you know, maybe there could be a specialty market for, if you will, free-range pigs. Even saying it sounded funny at the time because it was like a new term, right? And so I looked around, and it took some number of years actually before I met Bill Niman, and we hit it off and understood, you know, each other, and thought we'd give this a try. And so initially I shipped the first 30 pigs, week in February of 1995. That's when we started. So I was one farmer and 30 pigs. That was the beginning.
Amazing. What was happening though to the market at that time, especially?
Well, it was all right until we hit about 1998, and the hog market went to 8 cents a pound. That's, if you can imagine, 8 cents a pound for a live pig. It's roughly $20 for a pig, a full, you know. So farmers were selling into the open market at that price, literally losing their life savings, and it was devastating. And it was really you want a device to clear a lot of farmers off the land. This was it. And we at that time had established that we were going to pay at least have a floor price. We weren't going to go any lower than that price, and we were paying 43.5 cents a pound to our farmers, which was a profitable price at the time. And we bought as many pigs as we could. We didn't have a market to take all of the pigs, because I had a small network of farmers at that time.
It's such a thing to be Nierenberg. So I visited here with shortly after my began, and I feel like when we spoke, you had a sense of the urgency of making change that Paul was trying to do.
Yeah, for sure. Probably all my information came from Paul. I can't remember now, but it all started with the pork chop, is the way I'll put it. For some reason, I've forgotten. I was in California and I was eating at J. Penny's, and they had roasted a whole pork loin before a fire, which was very nice, and they cut it into chops, and that was right. And they had the pork chop, and I've reread what I've written, and I thought it was the most delicious pork I'd ever eaten. And so they put farmers on the menu there. They were in doing that. And there was Paul's name. I don't know if Paul actually raised that pork loin, but
I did.
he did. Okay, there you go. So that it wasn't just any Niman pork loin. It was a Paul Willis pork loin. So I got interested, and I somehow was convinced that it was worth flying to Des Moines and driving 2.5 hours, I think it is, up to Thornton. And I hung out with Paul and learned everything. And he didn't say just now, but probably this information also came from Paul. Between 1992 and 1997, about half of Iowa pig farmers went out. And at the same time, there was a slight increase in pork production. So you can see that there was a huge consolidation, and all those dismaying sheds full of thousands of pigs were showing up.
Yeah, that dismay, I think, was really pervasive across
I
the
mean,
region.
it was a revelation that you could smell these places when I came through and drove around Iowa.
Yeah.
It was, and at the same time, coming from northern New England, the East Coast, I just thought Iowa was beautiful, and it's very, it's rolling fields and all
Absolutely.
its agriculture, and it was a kind of a heck of a contrast.
I want you to take a step back and talk a little bit more about that first taste of pork.
Well, so it was, let's see, it was tender, it was porky, it was marbled, but of course, once it's cooked, you can't really see that. But it had fat, which contributes to juiciness.
Sure.
Am I forgetting anything else? It was just really, really luscious. How's that?
That's
Luscious.
wonderful and really simply done.
Oh, it was just roasted before a fire and had some simple, something they'd made in the restaurant as a condiment. Maybe it might have been the pork chop overshadowed everything. I don't remember what else
so
it
great.
was.
That's so great. And after that trip to Chez Panisse and then to Iowa, you published an article that really changed everything in so many ways, Ed.
So I tend to write at length, and
I know.
and so I wrote this very long piece, and I did have some a pretty good readership, and somehow Steve Ells, the founder of Chipotle, read this article, and was somebody very interested in ingredients, and he was like, wow. And my big takeaway, I haven't said, from writing that piece, was that all these things fit together. It was delicious taste, it was humane treatment of animals, it was outdoor farming that was a lot more pleasant for animals and people, it was health of the animals, health of the people, and humane treatment. I mean, and it was all a package. And part of that was that a pig that doesn't have that layer of fat on the outside can't survive as well outdoors in cold weather. So the fat actually was part of the package
Right.
of healthfulness and deliciousness and everything else. And I guess I conveyed that at great length, and Steve Ells was convinced, and I know he formed the first large-scale market for Niman pork, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but you'd been selling those pork loins to high-end restaurateurs,